science. In this video, we'll be looking at viscosity. Viscosity. In front of us, we have different liquids. We have here, we have the engine oil here, we have the honey, we have vegetable oil, we have palm oil. This is palm oil, this is also palm oil. This palm oil, while the molecules are free to move, here the molecules are not free to move. This is what we'll be looking at. Here, this one, I can turn it upside down and it will not pour. Why this one? If I try to do that, I'll mess up the whole place. Can't even try that. Then here we have shea butter, castor oil, or ori, or okuma in Igbo. This is petroleum jelly. Petroleum jelly. All these liquids that are here, the same condition, the same environment, and they are in different states. Why? Let's also use this pouring exercise to go into explaining it. Now, while you pour out the honey, then let me pour out the engine oil. As you are pouring, you look at the way it's pouring. Then let me also pour out water. See the way water is running out. The molecules are very, very free to move. Look at the engine oil. The molecules, they tend to cling to themselves. They are drawing themselves back because, number one, there is what you call cohesive force of attraction between the molecules. It's also more. And then apart from that, you also have other forces dragging them back, preventing them to move from one layer to another of the same liquid. Now, let's use this control experiment to also drive home our points. We have water here, we have the engine oil here, we have honey here. We want to open them up and then look at their flow rate, the time it will take for each of them to finish pouring out. So get ready. If I say 1, 2, 3, action. Yeah. So water has finished. Just a little 5 seconds for water to finish, and then these ones are still running down. These ones are still running out. The engine oil is almost going. The engine oil is finishing. It's finishing. The engine oil, we are having 20 seconds, 21, 22, 23, 25 seconds for the engine oil. The honey is still moving. Why is this happening? Now, you notice that the molecules of the liquids, there is an interior friction within the molecules of the liquid. There is an interior friction, and this interior friction is opposing the movement of one molecule over the layer of another molecule, and this is what we call viscosity. Viscosity is due to the interior friction. The interior friction existing between the molecule, the layers of one molecule and the other. That is interior friction existing between the molecule, the layers of one molecule and the other. That is what we now call viscosity. Viscosity. Then there is another thing we need to learn about viscosity. In this, we are going to use the question, why question, in answering that. Okay, the next, we are going to look at this question. We will use it to do the next thing we need to do. Now, the question says, a ball bearing falls through a viscous liquid. A, using a labeled diagram of a tall vessel, show all the forces acting on it. B, When will it attain terminal velocity? This is WASSE June 2008 question. Now, you are required to show the long vessel. This is the long vessel. This is our ball bearing. And then you now say, using a label diagram of a tall vessel, show all the forces acting on this. So, first of all, this is the ball bearing that is going to fall into this viscous liquid. As I drop this ball bearing into here, let me drop. As I drop and it's falling. Look at it falling. Look at it falling. The first force that acts on it is the weight of this ball bearing moving down, falling down under the influence of gravitational pull. That's the first force. The second force that is going to act on this, the second force is what you call upthrust. As I drop this, you notice that there's increase. Do you notice that it will displace some liquid of this viscous liquid? It will displace some, and doing this, displacing the liquid, means that there is another force acting on it. That is the upthrust. Upthrust, we have already treated upthrust in our density and in when we treated Archimedes principle. So I would like you to go and watch that video on density and Archimedes principle. So upthrust force is also acting on this. The third force that will act on it is the viscous force. The viscous force. When you drop the ball bearing and it's falling, for it to move from one layer of the liquid to another, it will experience some friction, internal friction. The internal friction will oppose the motion, the movement of this ball bearing, and as it moves down, it experiences that internal friction, and that is the viscous force. So let's go over to the board and have our label diagram drawn. This is our label diagram. It's our diagram, and then we have the ball bearing falling. The first force is the weight, that is the mg, the weight. And then the next force that will act upwards is the u, the upthrust. And another force that will act on it is the v, the viscous force. So you have the weight acting downwards, and then you have the upthrust, and then you have the viscous force, and the total force is Ma. So we now have this equation that Ma is now equal to mg minus the u, the upthrust, minus the viscous force. This is V. Alright? Now, the next question, question B, says, when will it attain terminal velocity? When will it attain terminal velocity? Now, look, if we drop this, it will start to accelerate. A time will come when the acceleration it will stop, when it will stop accelerating and start moving with uniform speed. It will stop accelerating and start moving with uniform speed. And at this very moment, you have what you call terminal velocity. Terminal velocity. And as it continues to move with this terminal velocity, as it continues to accelerate, to move with uniform speed, the viscous force will now become proportional to the terminal speed. And when that happens, we have that the viscous force will become proportional to the terminal speed. And then we have V. We don't work with proportionality sign. We now introduce our equality sign that comes with a constant. We now have it to be V viscous force is equal to K times the terminal velocity. And since our proportionality constant K has a value of 1, we now have this to be equal to V. So the viscous force is now equal to the terminal velocity. And when the ball does not stop there, the ball bearing does not stop there, it continues to move down. And due to the weight and the pull of the gravitational force, a time comes when the viscous force is now equal to the weight of this body, this ball bearing. When it's equal to the weight of this body, A, acceleration due to gravity becomes 0. A becomes 0, then making our earlier formula to change. We now have that m times A is now 0 is equal to mg minus u minus v. Then we have this equation to be 0 here. We now have that mg minus u is equal to v. So our viscous force, we can now use the formula to find viscous force, upthrust, and then the weight of the ball bearing. Now, we want to use this JAMB question to know how you can use this particular equation here to solve your problem. This JAMB question says, a body of mass 36 kilogram falls through a viscous liquid which offers a drag force of 260 Newton on the body. Let me take it again. A body of mass 36 kilogram falls through a viscous liquid which offers a drag force of 260 Newton on the body. Full stop. The upthrust on the body at terminal velocity is, you are given G to be equal to 10 meter per second squared. This is JAMB question 2005. Now let's go to the board. You have the options. Option A is 100 Newton, B is 620 Newton, C is 50 Newton, and D is 310 Newton. Let's go to the board and answer this question. First of all, you bring out the known parameters. So you now say solution. Solution. The mass is given as 36 kilogram, and then we are given G to be 10 meter per second square, and they said through a viscous liquid which offers a drag force. That drag force is your viscous force. So the viscous force is equal to 260 Newton. From our earlier equation, we have that V is equal to M times G minus U. You are asked to find the upthrust. So you make upthrust the subject of the formula, making U the subject of the formula, minus U crossing over and V crossing over. You now have that this is equal to mg minus V. And then U is equal to mass is 36 kilogram times our G 10 meter per second squared minus V. Our V is 260 Newton. So here we have that U is 360 Newton minus 260 Newton, and this U is equal to 100 Newton. So the answer is A. The answer is A, 100 Newton. Then, the next thing we are going to look at now, we want to look at the next question. We will use this question also to do what we need to do next. And this question is also a question from WAEC, May, June 2013. then paper 2. Just notice the trend. Questions from viscosity in WAEC, they are always appearing on the theory side. So don't joke with this particular topic, viscosity. Now the question says, A, list 2 examples each of substances with I, low viscosity, II, high viscosity. As we see, low viscosity, high viscosity. We have water pouring out easily. It has low viscosity. The liquids, the molecules are mobile, very, very mobile. High viscosity, we have the shea butter, we have the petroleum jelly. The molecules are very, very, you see that they are high. The viscosity here is high. The molecules are very, very clinging to each other. They are not moving easily. They are not easy to move. Then looking at our palm oil, it has high viscosity. Then honey also has higher viscosity than water. So we now differentiate them and list them that way. Then the B part of this question says, when is a liquid said to be viscostatic? When is a liquid said to be viscostatic? According to the examiner's report, many students failed this question. They did not know what viscostatic is. Now we want to teach you, you know what viscostatic is. Viscostatic, when you talk about viscostatic liquid is the liquid that does not change appreciably when there is change in temperature. When there is change in temperature, the liquid, the viscosity of the liquid does not change. Listen again, viscostatic liquid is a liquid that the viscosity does not change appreciably when there is change in temperature. When there is change in temperature, look at water. Let's use water. We use this. If we pour water here, we are changing the temperature of this water. We want the temperature to change by heating it up. We are increasing the temperature. Now, when we are increasing the temperature, you now notice that the water is still the way it is. The molecules are still the way they are. They are still moving freely. We have not noticed any appreciable change in the molecules, in the movement of the molecules of the water. We've not really noticed any appreciable change. So water is a viscostatic liquid. Water is a viscostatic liquid. Now let's pour the water away and then use another, thank you. Then we pour the water away. Let's use, this is our petroleum jelly. Petroleum jelly, we want to put it here, change the temperature. Let's look at it and see. We are increasing. Look at it. As we are heating it, we increase the temperature, and you notice that it's really changing. The viscous force, the viscosity is changing. It's no more viscous. It is now mobile. It's less viscous. Before applying the temperature, you notice that the viscosity was high, but now that we have applied temperature, there is a great change. You see that the molecules, they are now free to move. So petroleum jelly is not a viscostatic liquid. The same way you notice the shea butter, you pour it there, it will also not, it's going to change. So now you have known what viscostatic liquid is. The ones that the that one that
change
when the hair
the states change when heat is being applied.
Viscostatic viscostatic liquid is one that the viscosity does not change appreciably when there is change in temperature. The viscosity does not change when there is change in temperature. That is viscostatic liquid. Example, you have water. So, and then for petroleum jelly we have used now, the viscosity changed. As we applied heat, you notice that the viscosity changed. It becomes less viscous. Look at it now. The molecules are now very, very free, very mobile to move. Alright?
Yes.
And that is what viscostatic. Now, the next thing we are going to look at, we look at effects of temperature and pressure. Effects of temperature and pressure on viscosity. We just did that. So what can we say about this? You remember as this petroleum jelly, in normal states at room temperature the viscosity was high, and but immediately we apply temperature, what happens? It became less viscous. So how do you relate that? That temperature is now inverse, the relationship between the viscosity and temperature. Temperature is what? Inversely proportional to what? Viscosity. Is the inverse of it. Alright?
Yes.
So as temperature is increased, the viscosity reduces. Alright?
Yes.
So it becomes less viscous. Now what about pressure? When you add pressure to the liquid or gas, let's look at gas. When you compress gas, that is, you have increased the pressure. When you compress gas, you have increased the pressure, and then you have made them to become more viscous. By increasing the pressure, they now become more viscous. As in the case of LPG that you have in our cooking gas, you have your cooking cylinder, and then as the pressure is increased, then they become more viscous and they can also turn to liquid. The gas, they can also turn to liquid. So that's the relationship between the pressure, the temperature, and the viscosity. The next thing we're going to look at, let's see. We talked about water being a viscous liquid, but it's not, the viscosity is not so high. You can also feel it. You can also feel it by, like here now we have these buckets of water. You dip your hand. As you dip your hand, you notice that your hand will also displace some water. Now that is upthrust. Remember I said you can always go to our video on density and Archimedes principle to watch the upthrust and know what we said about upthrust. Now as I dip my hand and I want to move it forward, you notice that the molecule, the water molecule will follow. And as I move, the next molecule will drag the next. As I continue moving it, I'm now causing it to swell. I will now make it to swell as one molecule will drag the other one, and you will now feel that force. You will now feel the drag on your hand. So with this, you now notice the drag. There is also viscous drag, viscous force existing within the water molecule. You see it The drag continues. Then next thing we are going to look at is the applications. One way of reducing friction in machine is to lubricate the surfaces. The surfaces that slide over one another. That's how to reduce friction. Now, if I now say you pour oil here, look at, if you push your hand on this table, let's just do a simple experiment here. As I'm sliding my hand here, you can see it. Then if I say let me pour oil, if I pour oil here, you see, pia, is see.
Off.
So you see, so this my hand surface sliding over this without the oil, I experience some friction, opposition. But once I put oil between this surface and my hand, you now see that my hand is just moving even without me adding force to it. You see it, it's moving on its own. I'm not pushing it, it's just moving. So this is why you lubricate metal surfaces, especially the engines that work over time. You have the engines, you have your generators, you have the car engines, gearbox. So that's why you have the gear oil, you have transmission oil, you have a grinding machine. When you go to grind your pepper, tomatoes, you see them. The type of oil you use in this machine is different from the type of oil you use in another machine. Why? Because there are machines that move at a very high speed. The ones that move at a very high speed, they generate a lot of heat. And if you use like lighter oil, the heat will dry up easily and then it can lead to engine knock. So you now use the oil that is best fit for a particular machine. First of all, the first thing you look at is the rate at which the machine rotates. If it rotates very high, which means you have to use a more viscous oil. Then if it's a machine that doesn't rotate very very fast, you can use a lighter one. But water, can you use water? No, can't even talk of using water because water will dry off immediately. So it's not a good lubricant in the machines, in metals, especially metals. It's not very good. So you need oil to do that. Most of them, they use what you call grease, very sleepy oil, that's grease to do that. And then the next thing we are going to be looking at, remember we talked about terminal velocity.
Yes.
Have you ever thought of why you can play outside while it's raining? When it's raining, you see children playing outside and you're enjoying it.
Yes.
The rain falling from a very high level, coming to hit on your body without any effect, without hurting you. Is because the raindrops, as they accelerate, they attain terminal velocity. And when they attain terminal velocity, due to the viscous drag of the air, they attain terminal velocity due to the viscous drag of the air, and that will help to reduce the effect they will have on us. The velocity they use in falling will now be minimal and mild. That's why you can go out, play outside while it's raining and it doesn't
Really
hurt or harm you. Even the cars can be parked like the beginning of the rainy season this year. The ice came. Yeah, the ice came and the cars were parked and nothing happened. It did not break the windscreen of the cars and did not destroy anything. So because of that terminal velocity, I believe that we are learning,
Yes,
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we are learning. So viscosity is a very good, important topic, and I believe we have really done justice to it. Go and continue learning, practice your past questions. Remember, giving equal opportunity. Every child, every student is a potential achiever. There is nothing like this one is a genius, this one is a genius. We are all geniuses. It's just for you to bend down, give yourself that time, read, study it, and you become a better genius. Thank you.